Hello, my name is Lorna and I am a cloud gazer. Welcome to my Sky Museum. In these unprecedented times, with world-changing events crashing into our personal lives, with chaos and joy and sometimes grief, I think that we all sometimes need the time and space to just stop and to look up and contemplate nature and the nature of the sky and the nature of the world around us. This is my Sky Museum, my cloud trailer, and I'm sat here on the front drive of my house. You might hear birds or dogs barking or traffic going past or the swifts calling. And that's because we're just here outside our 3-bed semi in Dorset. This museum of mine is just full of books about meteorology, about the science, about art, about culture of cloud gazing, and how people have done that through the ages. But for today's gazing, I really hope that you are lying down somewhere very comfortable. Maybe you're in your back garden under a blanket. Maybe you're up in your bedroom under a duvet, just looking out of that window. Wherever you are, I hope you are cosy and comfortable. They're the main two things. After we've done our gazing together, I'm going to be hanging around on social media, so you can ask me any questions you like about my relationship with the sky, and I will try and answer you. But I'm just going to show you quickly around a very brief tour of our horse trailer here. There are lots of brilliant books that I can recommend to you about the sky. Things like the brilliant Cloud Spotter's Guide by Gavin Prater-Pinney, the absolutely marvellous Invention of Clouds by Richard Hamblin, or even my very old Ladybird book of the weather. It's glorious. Other things I have in here are actually all about a journey I took with my dad. It was a very amazing adventure that we had together, a journey along the Route 66 in America, just before Trump was elected. I'm going to show you a picture here. This is me and my dad, and I'll tell you about it a little bit later on when you're cloud gazing yourself. Now, just behind me, you might also see a picture here. In the story I'm going to tell you later on, I talk about Miss Atomic Bomb 1957, Lee Merlin, and this is me dressed up as Miss Atomic Bomb 2020. Oh, I wanted to show you something just before we leave this area. Often people have said this about me. I just wanted you to see me with my head in the clouds. Now, what we're going to do is walk through to my back garden. If you have these things with you, please make sure you've got them on or they're to hand. Ideally, you'll be listening to me through your headphones because the sound quality will be better then. And also that you might have your sunglasses, because no matter how dark the sky seems, it's often very bright when you're looking up at it for a long time. We're going to walk through to the back garden now. You can maybe see Colin in his full glory now. Oh. Another thing, if you have got one, a blanket makes you really cosy and comfortable when you're sky gazing. Let's go through. The sky here right now is actually full of beautiful, fluffy little cumulus clouds. We've had all types of cumulus today, cumulus congestus, mediocris, all these different cloud species and genera crowding up my sky. It's been glorious. Now I'm going to show you these two. These are my sons, Dylan and Rufus, and they have been sky gazing for, well, ever since they were little. It's our dog Marshall. Rufus here is gazing up at the sky. Look at the brilliant positioning here. They are very cosy, very comfortable, laid down, gazing skywards with their sunglasses on and their blankets. Perfect, perfect cloud gazing. Excellent work, boys. Just before I get you to completely put your attention up to the troposphere, I want to just show you my mural. My cloud collaborator Heidi and I have created this to give you a chart of the different skies that you might be able to see today. You can number the cloud genera or types from 0 to 9. There are 10 cloud genera, and I'm going to talk you through them here. Always wanted to be a weather girl, so here I get my opportunity to do so. The first cloud type, 0, is cirrus. High, fine ice crystals. Cirrus is angel hair. Angel hair. So it's the fine, wispy tufts of cloud that you might see on a very warm or hot day, or maybe formed behind a plane contrail. Number 1 is cirrocumulus. These are again fine, high clouds. Sometimes they're called mackerel skies. Next is cirrostratus, number 2. Stratus denotes a sheet of cloud. A sheet of cloud. So cirrostratus is high ice crystals, but this time a little bit fuzzy in the sky, you might see it as. Next we have altocumulus. These are a little bit lower, a little bit more clumpy than your cirrocumulus, and they're a little bit lower there. Next we have again this sort of middle cloud. Alto means that it's middle level cloud, and that's altostratus. Altostratus might be a bit grey, or it might be really taking over the sky. Again, that sheet layer, stratus. Next we have a cloud that I hope we don't see today, although my garden might be thankful for it, nimbostratus. Nimbostratus is the rain cloud. That's a rain cloud for you, nimbostratus. Next we have stratocumulus. We had some stratocumulus earlier, but it's burning off. Now we've just got these cumulus clouds in the sky. Stratocumulus. After that we've got stratus. Now that's the really low layer sheet cloud that you might have, stratus. After that we have number 8, cumulus clouds. Now cumulus clouds are probably people's favourite cloud. They're the clouds you might see on the Toy Story wallpaper or at the start of The Simpsons. That's cumulus clouds. Fair weather clouds, that's what we've got plenty of in our Dorset sky today. Hope you might have 2. They're really good for spotting shapes in. And then next we have cloud 9, cumulonimbus. Again, I'll talk more about this a little bit later. Cumulonimbus is the thundercloud, and it's a big shape. It goes from really, really low to really, really high, and at the top of a cumulonimbus you might have an accessory cloud called an anvil. A huge billowing shape that looks like an anvil. Anyway, I've taken you through the 10 cloud types so you can see them. I hope you've got some nice ones that you're spotting today. What I'm going to do now is, I hope you can see, we've set out a cloud auditorium for you. So in my mind, you're lying down on one of these comfy beanbags, or wherever you are, in a sort of auditorium, so you can watch the theatre of the skies. I'm going to go up my cloud ladder now. This is a brilliant vantage point. And I'm going to swap into my sunglasses. It really is very bright today. I'm going to start playing some images of cloudscapes that I filmed during lockdown now, just in case you don't have a good clear view of the world above. They're slightly sped up so you can see the clouds change, but ideally you will be looking at your own skyscape right now. Give it all of your focus for the next 20 minutes.
I'm a cloud gazer. I've been cloud gazing for years. But during the coronavirus pandemic, I've been watching the skies even more attentively than usual. At the height of lockdown, in my sickbed, I stared for hours and hours out of my bedroom window at fluffy cumulus clouds. When I felt better, I'd sit in my back garden, which I'm extremely lucky to have, and listen to the loudness of the birdsong and stare upwards. The traffic noise had stopped. The sounds of nature were suddenly gloriously deafening, and I'd marvel at the clear blue skies just occasionally scudded with high cirrus clouds. Cloud gazing is free to all, and you can do it anywhere you have a view of the sky above. You've just entered my auditorium, and together we're going to watch the Theatre of the Skies. So let's treat this as if it is an auditorium. You're at the theatre or about to watch a film. Please make sure your phone is switched off, or at least on silent. And if you can, try not to check it for the next 20 minutes or so. It's important that you're feeling comfortable, because I'd like you to start looking up now. Make yourself deeply attentive to the troposphere right above you. Devote yourself to it. Let your thoughts drift. And if you drift off too, that's perfectly okay by me. The sky is often something we take for granted. I'm spending the next few years asking people to cloud gaze along with me to appreciate the wonder of the everyday. I'll be here to help guide you through the sights. So let's begin by gazing up at our cloudscape now. Check out the features in this sky. What we're seeing is our troposphere, the lowest layer of the Earth's atmosphere, the part we live in. If there are no clouds, then you could just stare at the beauty of the blue sky above you. At the edges of the horizon, you might see how light it is compared to the darker blue that is right at the top of the sky. You might also notice birds or chimney stacks or dust and pollen particles. It is surprising quite how complicated featureless skies can be. Now, of course, you could just lie there and gaze and enjoy finding your own shapes in the clouds. You might see sheep or dinosaurs or your Auntie Iris or a dozen crabs doing the Macarena. But before I set you loose on the celestial to free associate, I want to introduce you to the sheer amazingness of Luke Howard's 200-year-old system of cloud classification. Luke Howard was an amateur meteorologist, and he came up with a way of naming the clouds. Clouds are hard to name because they're always changing, always mutating, turning from one thing into another. So Luke came up with cloud types, or genera. There are 10 we use now, and they can mutate using their compound Latin-based names. We can number them from 0 upwards, so we still get a cloud 9. The clouds are high clouds, 0, cirrus, 1, cirrocumulus, and 2, cirrostratus. Then there are the clouds in the middle. 3, altocumulus, 4, altostratus, and 5, nimbostratus. Nimbo signals rain. And then there are the lower level clouds, 6, stratocumulus, 7, stratus, and 8, cumulus. And then we reach cloud 9. Cloud 9 is not a happy place, though. Cloud 9 is in fact the most frightening cloud of them all, the thunderstorm, cumulonimbus. I was at the Cloud Appreciation Society conference a couple of years ago. It is a thing. And 3 different pilots told me about the story of a paraglider, Eva Wisniewska, who was sucked into a cumulonimbus. The cloud lifted her up to 32,000 feet. That's where airliners fly. And it rendered her completely unconscious. 3.5 hours later, it spewed her out 40 miles north of where she set out. Her eyelids were fused together with ice crystals. Incredibly, she was still alive, just about. Another pilot was not so lucky. Cumulonimbus are the clouds my children are scared of. Cumulonimbus are the clouds I am scared of. Anyway, that's your 10 main types of cloud. Within that, you get cloud species like vibratus, which literally means that the clouds are like wispy fibres, or fractus, which means it's a ragged-edged cloud, and mediocris, which means it's a bit boring. Then there are the accessory clouds, little appendages to bigger clouds like roll clouds and anvils, and these are just the clouds we can see in our troposphere. At the North and the South Poles you can see higher clouds, nocticulant clouds, the mesospheric clouds. There are even clouds on Mars. For now, though, we're just going to stick to these 10 main cloud types. I should mention that it's okay if you begin to feel so relaxed that you want to shut your eyes for a bit. When you open them again, your cloudscape may well have changed. When my dad turned 66, I wasn't sure how to best celebrate his birthday. In many ways, we're quite different. Our political views are often diametrically opposed, but we are enthusiasts. And we both love films about roads. And we've both always wanted to drive across America, so to the rest of our family's surprise, we decided to make a pilgrimage across the land of myth and legend together. Route 66 for his 66th, cloud spotting as we went. We started our journey in Chicago. The sky was the bluest blue. There were no clouds, save only for the bright white slashes of plane contrails. Contrail is a conflation of the words condensation trail. When Luke Howard came up with his system of cloud classification in the 19th century, there was no such phenomena. They're a new, entirely human-made cloud. Although the idea of our long-haul flight spewing out contrails did cause me some very real environmental agony, I wanted to see America. I wanted to see America with my dad. And it's amazing that now I can't travel. Now that I've been locked down along with the whole country, that I think of the trip with my father often. This grand adventure in another place. And all the while I was there, I still seem to spend it sky staring. Look up. What are the clouds above you doing now? Are they fleeting? Billowing? Or are there any clouds at all? During the UK lockdown, in the spring in the south of England, the weather has been almost surreally cloudless. I live under a flight path, and it has been noticeable that the familiar high cirrus cloud, formed by dissipating contrails, has all but disappeared for days and days on end. Change can sometimes be so discomforting. One of the great things about being a cloud spotter is that there are clouds wherever you are in the world. They're totally international. They're temporary galleries, and gazing on them slows us down like a meteorological meditation. The problem with clouds, though, is that they're vast and ever-changing. They are intangible. And our clouds are changing. Clouds protect us from the sun's heat, but they threaten us too. There is more rain. There are more rain clouds. Shakespeare said clouds were dislimming. I didn't know what it meant either. But to limn is to delineate, to draw a line. And so dislimming is a little bit like rubbing out. Weather dissolves lines as soon as lines are made, like our coastline. That's dislimming too, all around us, right now. Dislimming at this very moment. Sometimes you can even hear it. The tide, washing the beach. As I'm sure you know, clouds are formed as part of the water cycle. They are created through evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Life is cyclical too, of course. We are born, we might have kids, and then, it's a bit of a downer, but we die. Civilizations crumble and new ones spring forth to replace them. Even the stillest seeming of clouds are in constant turmoil. Did you know that the average life expectancy of a cloud is just 10 minutes? Those clouds above us, they've already changed, haven't they? And these cycles of cloud formation remind me of the cycles of life and death. My Uncle David, my dad's brother, he died a few years ago. He was a scientist and a clever, modest, funny and brilliant man. He worked in overseas development all over the world, helping people to grow crops with better irrigation systems and harnessing the power of nature to improve lives. I loved him very much indeed. And just a week after his death, I was at the birth of my sister's new baby. And once I'd got over the worst sting of grief, I found there was something very beautiful and moving about this cycle of family life and death. Any tarot card reader will tell you that the death card really just signifies change. Maybe that's why my dad and I wanted to do our Route 66 trip. To make the most of our time before everything changes again. And this science of cloud formation, this constant flux, you could call it self-ruining. Ruined clouds mutate into each other and they create new clouds. But I do feel sad for the generations who will never get to see the coastline I grew up beside. It will be worn away. Where I live, in Dorset, around the bay we're losing 2 to 3 metres of coastline a year. But my beach, in Bournemouth, it was where I grew up. It was the scene of my first kiss with my husband. It's where my children play in the summer, and I don't want to see it dislimbed. I know it will be. Things change. They always do. But it makes me sad to think of it. During our journey on the Route 66, my dad and I visited the National Museum of Nuclear Science and History in Albuquerque. Slightly unsettling tagline, "You won't leave the way you came." I figured that on our trip we should see the most frightening cloud of all, another human-made one, a mushroom cloud. I remember as a child, probably about 10, the age of my youngest son now, just how scared I was of dying in a nuclear holocaust. In the museum, we watched the footage of blasts. We looked at the doomsday clock, photos of children dissolved into shadows by H-bombs in Japan and intercontinental ballistic missile cases. I cried my way around the exhibits. My dad did not know what to do with me, until I came across the posters for the Miss Atomic Bomb beauty pageant. This was a special post-World War II competition for gorgeous ladies to compete with each other in a themed costume and modelling contest. The photos of Lee Merlin from the 1957 pageant were quite stunning. She wore silver heels and a leotard with a mushroom cloud sewed to the front. I have genuinely thought about making a performance installation where I pose, semi-naked, in this most tasteless of all costumes. In order to draw attention to the huge stockpiles of nuclear warheads there are still around 15,000 of them worldwide. My dad and I drove the 2,500 miles of the Route 66, ticking off the places in the song. The exotic-sounding Missouri, Tucumcari, Flagstaff, Winona and Oklahoma City. It's oh so pretty. We got all the way to California, to Santa Monica Beach. I cried a lot when we arrived on the pier. Water definitely seemed to be a big part in this somewhat emotional journey. And Santa Monica is just another beach which is dislimming. A short way along the coast, all the film star houses in Malibu are in great danger of destruction, although not in so much danger as the people living on the coast of Bangladesh or in the Solomon Islands. And those millionaire film stars, they're lucky. They can just move house. That journey with my dad, though, it was amazing. The chance to do something extraordinary with him, to weather watch in America. And these memories, they're ours to hold, whatever change comes our way. Breathe deeply. It's good for your brain. Breathe in and out. The air is glorious, isn't it? I hope that you've had some thoughts, or even none at all. Some of you might have just had a nice rest. That's also wonderful. I want to remind you that pollution doesn't obey political boundaries, and nor do clouds. What we put into our troposphere cycles all over the planet. Our air is a fluid entity. I'm hoping that, like seagulls, we might come into land just before the worst of the rainfall. I think we can. In his brilliant book about Luke Howard, he of the cloud classification system, Richard Hamblin wrote that clouds are self-ruining and fragmentary. Every cloud is a small catastrophe, a world of vapour that dies before our eyes. Sometimes I wonder if humans are self-ruining. Some people think we are. I don't think so. I think we can take our cue from the water molecules in our atmosphere, their constant change and adaptation. We are such brilliant creatures. You are such a brilliant creature. Sometimes we simply have to give ourselves over to the uncontrollable events in our atmosphere. And other times, well, science shows that we can have an effect on our skies. One thing I do know, above all else, is that the world can rely on a changeable sky. Thank you for gazing with me today.